Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Take Two Podcast, episode 292. My name is Brian. I'm your host here for all of your Hollywood news, TV, movie reviews, and, of course, my Take Two. 292 straight weeks for Take Two Podcast. Thank you guys for joining, listening, subscribing, and all those good things. Today, a ton of casting news, a great amount of Hollywood news, no DC, very minimal Marvel, and one main review. But we are bringing back an old segment that used to happen quite often on the show. Almost weekly, we used to have the podcast recommendation. And I had a new pod thrown my way, something that I was venting about on my social media. And a good buddy of mine sent me this pod. He was like, hey, this goes along to what you were venting about. And I think you should listen to it. I did, and it's great. So I want to throw that recommendation your way. Of course, we will have the box office and our going forward section and all the good times in between. Winning time will be the review later on in the show. Thank you guys for joining Take Two Podcast. Thank you for subscribing, following. Ratings and reviews are appreciated. And don't forget, if you want more, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, at Take Two Podcast. We are very easy to find here. And if you want to drop a line, either a text or a voicemail, 667-365-8253. 667-365-8253. I actually got a few texts and voicemails and whatnot over the weekend, and it was lovely chatting with quite a few of you folks. I do think a listener did not listen to my advice, and they're sore for it. They asked for a recommendation. Which movie should I go see? I think they went against my recommendation, and they didn't even finish the film. What's up, buddy? But hey, we can't all be winners? No? I don't know where that sentence was going. Anyway, my name is Brian, episode 292, Take Two Podcast. Thank you guys for listening and subscribing. Besides the rating and review, if you don't mind just telling your friends, hey, this show's not horrible. Or it is. What if we go that route? Like, it's so bad. You guys should listen to it. Like one of those type things, an old school Howard Stern type of mindset. I did not just call Howard Stern bad. If you recall, in the beginning, people listened because it was so crazy. That type of route. Let's just get started, shall we? Should we get right into the show? Let's start things off with the box office. Money. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness had a 67% drop from weeks 1 to 2, and you might think, ugh, that's gross. Well, but when you get over $180 million for your first week, that's not that bad, because they win this week with $61 million. That was an easy prediction. We said that last week. I don't even know if I threw out a number. If I did, $61 million is what they get. That puts them up now for the total gross, so that you know this is not just your weekends, but they're sitting at 291 now domestically, just a hair under 3. I bet you they were like, oh man, I wish we could get that thing to 3. They're at 4,500 theaters still. And I would tell you this, a little spoiler alert for the going forward section. It ain't going away. Not anytime soon. Not for another week. Not till we get to Memorial Day. So this movie is still going to churn out some cash. You're going to get some repeat viewers. As these reviews continue to come in for this movie, people are middle of the road. Some love, some hate. It is a very divisive film. And I think that's going to equal some more money for them. I think that's going to make them keep coming back, because people want to see, well, let me check out this Easter egg, etc. Either way, $61 million. They're going to be making more money next week. I promise you that. Bad Guys comes in at second place at $6.8 million, putting them over $60 million themselves. It's a bummer. They're not going to hit 100. They would need to stay in. And then some big movies are about to come out starting in 2 weeks. Summertime starts. So they're not going to, hit that 100. But good money for them. Good money for the animated. Well over 100 is Sonic the Hedgehog. Third place, $4.5 million. Good on them. 175 overall, just domestically. Fourth place, Firestarter, 3.8. That's the film that a lot of people watched and hated this weekend. I was going to push play. I had plans to push play, and then my schedule completely changed, which was, I was bummed because I wanted to give you guys 2 reviews this week, and I didn't get to see it. But from everything I've heard, people suffered through this film badly. And now it's at the point where, same thing I was just mentioning a minute ago, maybe it's so bad that it makes me want to watch it. Like, I kind of want to. So that might be on a review for next week, because I have a little bit more time to try and catch up. The kicker here, you could have watched this at home. You did not need to go to the theaters, but still it makes $3.8 million. Everything, everywhere, all at once, another $3.3 million. They're a shade under $50 million. You know that's what they want to grab for that independent film. Fantastic Beasts grabs another 2.4. That puts them at 90. Could they get up to 100? No. No, same reasoning as bad guys, and they're even closer. They're not going to get $100 million. They're going to need to leave this thing in for another 5 weeks because our 2.4, cut that in half, etc. Big movies are coming out in 2 weeks. That's a loss for Warner Brothers. The Lost City, $1.7 million, 97. Could they get to 100? Maybe. I have more faith in The Lost City getting to 100 million than I do in Fantastic Beasts. Obviously, they're only 3 million away versus 10 million away. But intriguing there. Leave it in there. Leave it in there for 3 more weeks. Let it get $1 million each, and then you're good to go. The Northman at 1.7 gets it up to 31 overall, and then Family Camp. I'm not familiar whatsoever with that film. Comes in 9th place, first weekend of release there, 1.4. And lastly, Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, $1 million. So, Doctor Strange is your big winner. Spoiler alert, it's going to win again next week, but we will chat about that in the going forward section. Now, bringing back an old segment that we used to have on the show consistently, and now it is, and then it became periodically, sporadic, if you will. But here we go, we're bringing it back. So I've talked on here, guys, how I coach my daughter both basketball and softball. We are in the midst of the final stretch of her softball season, and this will be it for me for coaching her because she moves on to high school next year. She'll be playing on all the high school teams, and all of the school she's going to has phenomenal softball. In fact, they play in the championship tomorrow. Today, as you guys are probably listening to it. Yesterday, if you guys slacked off for a day. Both their JV and varsities are studs. And then their basketball program is building and really good. So they don't need coaches is what I'm trying to say there. Either way. So this is it. And it's coming down to a bittersweet area for me in coaching her because we're almost all done. Now, I grew up with females in my family, all athletes. My sister is probably the best all-around athlete in our family between my brother, her, and I. Luckily, she doesn't listen to show, so she won't hear me say that. But my cousins, athletes, my mom, my aunts, like females in athletics has just been the norm for our family. And the majority of females in my family are better athletes than the males. As much as some of the males on my mom's side might try and tell you otherwise, they're wrong. And I got the stats to prove it. Anywho, so equality in sports, it's just been like happens, that's just been normal in our family. Like that, it hasn't been a thing that we've thought twice about. But growing up and learning how things have not always been this way, and still you meet people in the football locker room, you meet people with Neanderthal mindsets that poo-poo things, and always for us growing up it was like, huh, dude, what are you talking about type deal. Either way, now into coaching. In coaching, I've been getting it firsthand, right? I've always, just attended my sister's games, cousins' games, and things like that. But when coaching and you find out what gym time you're given for the girls versus the boys, how much publicity does the school give the girls' team versus the boys? Ridiculous, right? And then how much field time and practice time, etc., for the softball teams versus the boys' teams. Field quality has been huge that I've recognized in coaching softball versus baseball recently. And that was where my vent came from. Over the weekend, my daughter and I went out to try and help fix up the field to try and prep it for games coming up this week. And if you looked over at the boys' baseball fields, they're pristine. The girls, we're out there busting our hump on our own time trying to fix it. And it's a very common thing. And this is at a high-end facility. Yet they're just like, the softball fields, we'll just drag them real quick, throw down the bases. They're fine. But the boys are out there clipping, the grass with scissors to make it good. The dugouts, pristine for the boys. High-end, state-of-the-art stuff, dugouts for the boys. The girls, they just get a bench and a fence around, and it's barely even called a dugout, right? So anyway, I'm rambling here, but to my point, there's a new podcast out right now talking about the 50th year anniversary of Title IX. Big to-do, Title IX, that helps gain and give traction towards equality for women in sports. Very interesting. It is a 5-part series. We're on part 3, just drops this week. I listened to the first 3 episodes, and they're fantastic. It is a ton of information. Things that I, as much as I've studied and done research just on sports, I had no clue. No clue where a lot of this came from. I.e. that Title IX was more of an educational bill than it was for sports, but they use sports as an avenue to try and get these things passed. Wild. Really, really good podcast. It's through NBC News and NBC Sports, and like I just said, 5-part series. It goes all the way back and breaks down just the beginning, where this came from, what leagues were adopting it, why did they need to adopt this bill, how many people pushed back against fighting against this bill, and how today, I just gave you some very, very basic examples of how to, even today, it's still not the same, right? Because women's sports don't bring in the money that men's, so therefore, well, Title IX just lets them play. We'll throw them some cash, but still, it's not equal. It's not. The biggest example was last year when we had the March Madness tournament, and we saw the gyms that were given for the men's basketball teams versus the women's. The women's were literally given like a pyramid of weight, which I have behind me. And that's what was given for like all the women's teams, things like that. So it's a really eye-opening, very well thought out, very technological, very information-driven podcast all about sports and Title IX, and then just the equality and where we've come and then where we still have to go. That was a long rant to tell you that In Their Court is a great pod that I am enjoying and I'm looking forward to. Jump on board right now. Big thank you to my good buddy Craigie, who recommended it to me, and I immediately push play on it and then immediately push play on the next 2 eps because they've been fantastic. In Their Court, it's out now wherever you can get your podcasts. And that, folks, is our podcast recommendation for the week. Let's jump over to the casting couch, shall we? Scream 6. Fast forward. If you have not seen Scream 5, I'm going to mention some names that are coming back in Scream 6. If you haven't seen Scream or Scream 5, this will, spoiler alert, let you know that these folks survive at the very least, and probably then hint at they are not the killer in that. So if you need to fast forward for, 40 seconds, do so. I don't mind. Okay, Melissa Barrera, Jasmine Brown, Jenna Ortega, Mason Gooding, they're all coming back, baby. They have all signed on to come back for Scream 6. I mean, this writing was on the wall. I think they just had to make sure they could get all of them together, get the schedules arranged, and make sure the contracts are good. I'm sure every one of these kids is getting a bump in their salary. And here's the fun part. On Hayden Panettiere's socials, she posted she too will be returning in Scream 6. She's alive. Remember that little Easter egg that they showed us that she survived and she didn't die back on Scream 4? Well, they're bringing her back, baby. That's pretty cool. So, Scream 6, you're bringing back your core 4, adding in Hayden Panettiere. That is awesome. Okay, Pirates of the Caribbean, however you folks want to announce that. Obviously, this is talked about a lot right now because Johnny Depp and his whole Amber Heard stuff. But Bruckheimer has come out and said that they have a script working and they are definitely pushing towards doing another Pirates movie with Margot Robbie as the lead. I will tell you guys this is still rumor stage, but I wanted to throw that out there. I also want to put it here in case you guys fast forwarded too much and you missed this. It's just a rumor thing. Not a rumor is that Christopher Walken will be in Dune Part 2. Rock and roll. That's a hell of an addition to an already great cast. Twisted Metal. I'm not a gamer. We've talked about that. I'm not a big gamer, but Twisted Metal, a buddy of mine way back in high school, he had, oh crap, I just messed it up. Whatever gaming system Twisted Metal was on. N64? No, that's not right. What was the Cube? There was the Cube. Oh, this is bad podcasting. All right. Either way, Twisted Metal, whatever system that was on. Sony. No? So what was Sony's? Sega's? That wasn't Sega. No. Jeez. Roy is yelling at the thing right now. I apologize. We mentioned that Anthony Mackie is in Twisted Metal, this adaptation of this video game, and Stephanie Beatriz has been added to the cast. This is why we do not have a lot of subscribers to the show, and this is also why a lot of you guys stick around. Love you. Thank you for listening. Mrs. American Pie. Bye, Mrs. American Pie. Apple comedy series being produced by Laura Dern. This is being created by Kristen Wiig. She's also starring in this, and they have just added Leslie Bibb to that cast. Rock and roll. I like all the names involved there, and I like American Pie. I like apple pie. American Pie sounded gross. How do you like American Pie? Because that's not a thing. Apple pie is delicious. Anywho, who is picturing Jason Biggs right now? Teen Wolf the movie is happening, and Tyler Hoechlin is coming back for it. I did not ever watch an ep of Teen Wolf over on the C-Dub, but there's a movie coming out with all those characters, and Tyler Hoechlin was on the show. He left the show. He's Superman now, but he's coming back to be in the Teen Wolf movie, reprising his old role. I don't know why his role left in the first place. I would have assumed he died, but I guess he did not, or he's a wolf, so he can come back. Either way, for all you current Teen Wolf fans out there, Tyler Hoechlin is there. Have any Teen Wolf watchers? I know Michael J. Fox has not been in there. Well, I guess Jason Bateman neither. I guess nobody from the Teen Wolf movies ever made like a cameo in any capacity. Do they even talk about them? I have zero clue about that show. But I don't know. Hoagland will be back. Okay, Fast and the Furious Part 10. They have added the Reacher. They have added Hawk from Hawk and Dove. They have added Alan Ritchson to their cast. So they obviously needed some muscle on that set. And they reached out to Alan Ritchson. He is his career, man. I'm telling you. I know some people watch Reacher like, oh, this dude can't act. Yes, he can. He was acting, giving you that performance of that stoic dude. I'm telling you, he's not just all muscle or whatever. He's a solid actor, and his career is starting to take off before it. Okay, Unprisoned, an 8-episode series that'll be on Hulu and Disney Plus. Delroy Lindo and Kerry Washington starring in that. Godzilla vs. Kong Part 2. We have now added Dan Stevens to that cast. Rock and roll. Here is an announcement that will get both my wife and Roy from the Realm all excited. Jensen Ackles will be in the Big Sky Season 2 finale. Cool. That automatically will make my wife go watch seasons 1 and 2, binging quickly just to see that episode. Lastly, best for last, baby. We're going to turn it up to 11. Why not make 10 louder? Because we have 11. Spinal Tap 2 is happening. Rob Reiner is back. Yes, he's in it, and he will be directing. Michael McCann will be in it. Christopher Guest will be in it, and Harry Shearer will all be back. I don't know how I feel it. When I read that, I'm like, woohoo! But then also, does Spinal Tap need a sequel? No. Am I going to watch it? Yes. Rock and roll. Okay, done with the casting couch. On to our Hollywood news. Married with Children, again, rumor. We're leading off with a rumored section. Has an animated series. But the heavy rumor is that not only will we're doing an animated series of Married with Children, but the entire cast is coming back. All of your core 4 will be back to voice the Married with Children cast. I'm all for this. I worry about the kids' voices just sounding older, like Applegate is just older, what have you. But whatever, that could be fun. I'm a little curious. The Me Too movement happened, like Al Bundy. I don't know if that character plays in 2023 when this eventually comes out. So I'm curious if they might have to alter some things, or maybe they're just like, F it. It's animated. People understand the character by now. Let's roll with it. I would just hate to see Al Bundy get canceled because it's an iconic TV character of all time. Avatar trailer dropped last week, and it in its first 24 hours garnered more views than any of the Star Wars films, sequel films, that trilogy, the sequel trilogy. Good for Avatar. I watched the trailer. I'm intrigued. I'm not a big Avatar guy. We're talking a lot today about things that I'm not into. But either way, it looked good. I want to see it. I'm just not as invested as so many people were, but apparently many folks out there were, because it just defeated that. It was pacing just behind Spider-Man No Way Home for the 24-hour record. Winning time, we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Here's a little preview on whether the show is good or not. It garnered 1.6 million viewers for its finale episode. That was up 76% from the initial ep. That just speaks to kind of how we watch shows these days. Like, oh, that premiered this week. It's episodic where I don't have to binge it type thing. All right, maybe I'll watch it on Thursday. Maybe I'll watch it next week, or maybe I'll let 1 or 2 eps stack up. I'll watch those in a row, and then if I'm digging it, all right, now I'm 3 eps in, and now I just have to watch 3 more weeks worth of it. I'm chatting with a lot of people that seems to be their realm, is where they'll just say, all right, well, if I have 6 weeks to watch it, I'll wait, knock out 2 to 3 eps in a row. Now I'm digging it. There we go. I'll rock out. I actually just did that with We Own the City. I'm halfway into We Own the City. Waited a little bit. Now I've caught up. Rock and roll. Okay, which down the road we will have a review of We Own the City. Okay, Westworld, it announced June 26th, drops 8 episodes coming to you. Disney Plus. Oh, I'm sorry. I wrote those right next to each other. That's it. Westworld topic is done. Next topic. Disney Plus has passed Netflix for their subscriptions. I wonder if, this is me just pondering, I'm wondering if it is because Disney has now given you that parental control, started giving you some older, not older films, but age bracket like PG-13s, and even they're going to flirt with starting to give you some rated Rs. Like now you're even getting more adults jumping in, and that's what them gave them that pass on Netflix? Or is it just because people are tired of Netflix churning out movies that, all right, I guess I'll watch it, or some of their series not so great? I'm wondering, curious. Either way, Disney Plus is now past Netflix. Jack Ryan, it has been announced that season 4 will be the final season once that does drop over on Prime. Black Mirror, baby. This will help Netflix. Season 6 is happening. We're booked. They're casting as we speak to give us a 6th season of Black Mirror. I will say, it's funny. You could put a compilation of probably 12 eps, taking like 3 eps here, 2 eps here, 1 ep there of each of the 5 seasons. And I think each, like season 4, great. Season 5, fine. Had that 1 ep, and then this here. You know what I mean? Like, if you're giving me 4 to 5 eps each one, there's been one that's been amazing, and the other one's fine, and then one that. So you could probably put a whole compilation, like a best of Black Mirror. That's what they should do when this is all done. Just give me a DVD box set that just gives you the best eps from each season, and that's it. That will sell off the shelves to nobody, since nobody buys physical media as much anymore. Anywho, lastly, things that aren't also happening anymore, these CW shows, they went through a litany of cancelizations. We talked about this last week with some of the DC shows that they canceled. Well, here's some of their regular shows. Charmed, Roswell, Naomi, Legacies, Dynasty, 4400. All these shows, dunzo. Charmed, that used to get reviewed weekly on here on Take Two Podcast. None of the other ones we really spoke about very much, but and some of those shows have 4, like Dynasty had like a 5-season run. Charmed had a few seasons in there. I think, I forget what the Legacies had a couple, and that was kind of a spin-off type show. But CW, man, they're totally changing their programming lately. They did confirm Gotham Knights is a go. A couple of other shows are a go. So you can just see a little bit of a shift here in what they're doing with their programming. Eventually, The Flash will be done. Curious how long they're going to go with Superman and Lois. They might be out of the superhero game completely within the next 3 years, depending on how this Gotham Knights thing works out for them. All right, that wraps up our Hollywood news. On to the review. Our review this week is for Winning Time. This is over on HBO, and I really enjoyed this. This is all about the Lakers, 1980 Los Angeles Lakers. 10 episodes, all of them about an hour. I call it like 48 minutes-ish, so you can watch it pretty quickly. You can binge through this bad boy. It's over on HBO Max, if I didn't just say those exact words. The lead here, John C. Reilly, Quincy Isaiah, Jason Clarke. Those are your main leads. I will say the acting on this was wild. It really was. I want to give Solomon Hughes as Kareem Abdul-Jabbar a lot of love, especially. His is the character that you might have seen the greatest arc on, to be honest. But John C. Reilly. Well, we'll just start off with the acting, if we will, before I get into if I actually like the show or not. John C. Reilly dominated this. He was great. Like, he was absolutely great. And I don't know Jerry Buss to save nothing. I've seen pictures of him, and sure, he looks like him, whatever. They made him look like the guy, but he was fantastic. Didn't realize he was a big womanizer. Didn't realize he was a big, like, just positive thinker type guy. Like, we're going to make it happen type of guy, which I love that style of thinking. He really does a fantastic job. Like, I'm looking forward to season 2 of this just for John C. Reilly and seeing him give us more. And he gave us this big character arc. He had deaths in his family. He had illnesses that he had to deal with. All in the meantime, businesses he's trying to run. He's buying the Los Angeles Lakers. He's trying to make them popular. He's trying to keep the team from folding, literally. Think about that. The Lakers from folding. All back in 1980. Trying to make draft picks. Trying to convince the draft picks to come there. It was a different time. And he really portrayed it very well. I really enjoy John C. Reilly's portrayal on here. Quincy Isaiah's Magic Johnson. He does a great job. I heard Magic Johnson, the real life one, was kind of like, I don't know if I love that guy as me. But he did a great job. I think next season we can get more from him, because like this entire season for him was like a learning for the character of Magic. Like, I'm learning all these things. I don't understand. I'm always happy. I'm always in a good mood. Why are things not great with some of you people? This is confusing to me. Style, but I thought Quincy Isaiah did a great job. Jason Clarke is Jerry West. Jason Clarke, man, I mean, he played an angry bug, and I definitely heard that Jerry West did not like this portrayal of him. Like, but then other people came out like, like Jerry West was kind of like, I'm not always that angry. This is bullshit. Why am I always angry? Like that type of thing. And other people were like, well, go listen to yourself, pal. You were always angry, like that style of whatever. Either way, Jason Clarke does a great job with this, and he plays that angry bug the entire time. He does a really good job. Gabby Hoffman, half the time I'm like, is that really Gabby, that man? We've known Gabby Hoffman for 30 years. This lady's been acting as a kid actor or whatever. Hadley Robinson, I thought, was your breakout star here, more so than Quincy Isaiah and more so than Solomon Hughes. She plays Jeannie Buss, Jerry Buss's daughter. She played, she had to play much younger. Again, an arc going through. And she gets, very this is a man's world poo-pooed upon quite a few times in there. And you see her, and like her arc, I really want to see her in season 2. Like, really, I'm really looking forward to what happens with her. And of course, we could always just Google, like, what happened? How did she take over as president of the Lakers? Because that's what she is now. But that type of thing. The show. Okay, guys, the acting across the board is fine. The writing in here, I thought it was really unique. I thought the style that they made the show was really unique. Jim Hecht and Max Bornstein are the creators here. And I think they just bought into, the Lakers were Showtime. The Lakers were fun. The Lakers gave you that in your face, we're just going to have a good time, man. Come and join the ride. This is LA. And this is like the start of that kind of thought process for Showtime. And they kind of do that with the show. There's many, and I don't love breaking the fourth wall. But in some instances, it just works. And for some weird reason, it just worked. It just absolutely worked within the show. So I don't know. It's hard to describe when something simply just works for you. But as John C. Reilly is like talking, breaks the fourth wall, looks at you. Then there's a narrator voice that comes over top, his voice, like an inner monologue type thing, and then he's back into character, all within the same scene. It just flowed for fun. Like, it just flowed for fun, and I think that's what they were going for here. Like, it was had that documentary feel to it, but you're watching the reenactment, but you're also just watching the movie. And so sometimes it's like, I'm just invested in these lives. I'm invested in what's happening here with the Lakers. How did this happen? They give you enough down the road of multiple different players going into their homes, watching these sub-stories on top of the Lakers. Half the time I was invested in Magic Johnson. The other half of the time I was invested in the Lakers. I wanted to know what was up with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He's going through some religious thoughts. He's going through some thoughts of, should I leave playing basketball and just be religious, devote my life to Muslim and all that kind of thing. And all of it was really well done. Is it the greatest show ever? Nah, not even close. But was it worth my time and worth watching and had me invested pretty much throughout the entire thing? Yeah. So I really enjoyed Winning Time. It is a win for me. I highly recommend it. Go watch it. Especially and we've said this on the show 1,000 times. The best sports movies aren't about the sports. And it gives you that, as we get towards the end, do you find out, do they make the playoffs? Do they win the championship? All those things happen, and you get into the games. And it's a lot of fun. It's really cool. But all these sub-stories with all the characters, that's what really drives us. And this is a win for me. Winning Time on HBO Max now. Check that out immediately. That's going to do it for the reviews. Let's wrap things up. And not wrap things up. Let's start things off, baby. Let's get going here with DC discussion. Only one thing in DC discussion, and that is that the Amber Heard, we want her out of, whatchamacallit, Aquaman 2 has reached 4 million signatures. So if you haven't signed, you're one of the few. I haven't signed. I'm not signing that thing. Who cares? But apparently we've reached 4 million signatures just to get this lady out of there. I mean, can't they just do a scene where like she poops on Aquaman's bed or something? On to the Marvel Minute. All right, She-Hulk. We got the release date for She-Hulk. That is going to be August 17th. August 17th, we are getting that She-Hulk series. I got to be honest, I'm looking forward to that series. Something different, but then still, we might get Ruffalo in there. We're going to get some other characters making some cameos. I'm intrigued. I'm actually really in on the She-Hulk series. August 17th, we'll be getting that one. If we still have a podcast, then we will be chatting about it then. Christian Bale, he is playing Gore, the God Butcherer, and in Thor Love and Thunder. Thor, God of Love and Thunder? Thor, Love and Thunder. There's no word God in that. Thor, Love and Thunder. Thor, God loves thunder. No, Thor, Love and Thunder. Fun times. Christian Bale said his villain is the stuff of nightmares. You don't want to mess with Gore, the God Butcherer, in Thor, Love and Thunder. There you go. Nailed it. Lastly, Chris Pratt has come out and said that Jurassic World Dominion, this final episode of all the Jurassic films, has said that he's likening it to Endgame. And having been in both, obviously he can do such a thing. But he said it is very Endgame-esque. And Yeah, so I don't know. Again, the last Jurassic Park movie, Jurassic World movie, it was not great. Not great whatsoever. But I'm really looking forward to this one, especially if they're wrapping up, and especially if they knew ahead of time that they're going to wrap on this one. But does that mean some people die? Does Chris Pratt die? Does he get eaten by Blue? Does Blue wind up just saying, F it, I'm hungry? And I don't blame him. Done with the Marvel Minute, done with the show. It's time to go forward. In theaters this weekend, we've got Men. That's kind of an independent project starring Jessie Buckley, fresh off of her Oscar nomination from last year. A woman travels Europe after the death of her husband, and there's some grief dealings, and then things happen while she's traveling abroad. We'll see if we can get around to that one. And I know a lot of my listeners are ready for the Downton Abbey movie coming to theaters this weekend. Bada bing, huh? No, that will not be a review for me next week. I've never seen an ep, nothing against it. And anybody that does watch it, rock on, good on you. Just not my lane, have not watched it. I've heard good things. Disney Plus, though. And here's a funny thing. I showed this trailer to my son, and he was like, I'm out. I was like, really? Because I'm in. Chippendale Rescue Rangers drops this weekend. I want to watch the series. My 5-year-old couldn't give a darn, but maybe I'll force him to watch it. Once he watches one up, he'll be like, oh, this is actually fun. He'll probably forget that we watched the trailer. Either way, that drops this week. Hulu, the movie The Valet comes out. That's Samara Weaving and Eugenio Derbez, fresh off of his Coda success. The Valet is on Hulu. Also on Hulu, if you didn't get around to American Underdog, that Kurt Warner story, that drops over to Hulu this weekend. I may watch that. So that may get reviewed next week because obviously we didn't chat about it here on the show. So Prime has Night Sky. That's 8 episodes. That series begins this weekend. That's Sissy Spacek and J.K. Simmons, and they are an older couple living in New York that find, in their basement, had a door to another planet. Sounds interesting. Again, that's another thing that was like, if I could, crank out 3 eps in a row real quick, get me hooked, then moving forward. But I'm pretty sure only 1 ep does drop this weekend. So a lot of catch up this week that we will be doing. A couple of those movies that I just mentioned. Hell, maybe we'll watch Firestarter, huh? So episode 293 is going to be a wild ride. Thank you guys for listening to Take Two Podcast. Honestly, folks, I made that little comment that if we still have a podcast later, I do appreciate you guys listening and sticking with the show. Whether the show is only on for 8 more eps or if we make it all the way to October, I don't know yet. Still thinking about it. Occasionally debating, seeing what you guys want to do. But we might be wrapping up soon, or maybe we just keep going forever. Forever. Trivia time. What movie is that from? Episode 292. Have a great night, everybody.